Morning, guys and gals. Froggy here. This morning we're going to do the passenger side plugs and wires on a C5 Corvette. That's position 2, 4, 6, and 8. Cylinder numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8. So if I reference those numbers, you'll know what I'm talking about. That's to the right of the frame is the front of the engine. Okay, we did 1357 yesterday, and I turned the car around to try to get a little more sunlight. It's kind of a gray. We call this marine layer, the locals. It's or May gray. It might burn off around 2 or 3 this afternoon, but we'll probably be done by then, I hope. So, anyway, we're going to start with number 2, and one of my viewers looked at the video yesterday that I did of 1357. He said this side's going to be harder. I don't think so, but we'll find out. Anyway, I'm going to show you a special tool that I got. Hold on. I've been using these pliers. These are actually meant for hoses, but they work pretty good on the plug boots too, and they've got a little angle on the end of them. So I'm going to have to go off camera here, and I'll start pulling those off. The coil side comes pretty easy, as you probably already know, and then getting down on the plug side is the hard part. I'll show you this before I go any further. This is the number 4 cylinder, and I just took the top, the connection, the boot that goes to the coil off, and I just let it go loose, and it broke off the ignition wire at the bottom. That's how brittle, and just can't believe it. It happened on one on the other side, and here it happens on this one too. I'm starting to wonder. This car has 55,000 miles on it, and I'm starting to wonder about these stock wires, if they're any damn good. There's no headers on the car, 55,000 miles. The ignition wire shouldn't fall apart like that, should it? Post me up a comment if you'd like to. Anyway, alright, moving on. Got to get that bottom boot off. Okay, I got 2, 4, 6 off, pretty easy. Now, I want to give you a technique that I'm using that seems to be working pretty good on this side. You want to get the coil boot off first. And the way I'm doing that is I'm reaching, this one's already off, but make believe it's still there. I'm reaching one hand underneath and pulling on the rubber. Never pull on the wire, because you'll just break the wire off. Pulling on the rubber, and then I'm taking a big flat blade screwdriver and I'm pushing on the top of the rubber. So it's a pull-push combination, and that does seem to pop them off pretty good. Now on the bottom, I'm using this tool, which is a bent nose needle nose pliers, big ones. They're about 12 inches long, and I'm grabbing the metal. I want to show you this here. Oh boy, there. See this metal cover on each of the plugs? Grab the lip of that with your needle nose and pull the metal cover, and what that does is it puts pressure from the bottom side on the rubber boot. As if you pull from the top of the rubber boot, it's very hard to get it off. Even if you pull and twist from the top of the rubber boot, you might get some, you might not, because it's hard to get a good angle to pull and twist, especially on this number 8. But if you grab the metal protector and pull on that, pull and twist and pull on that, and maybe use your big long screwdriver. And be careful where you leverage it so you don't break another part, especially the coils. Then it should come off. Now let me try that on number 8. I got the other 3 off. It's going pretty good. What I do is use gloves, because if your hand slips, you're gonna skin up your knuckles or yeah, worse. But because you have to put a lot of pressure, so put some gloves on. Okay, the passenger side came out a lot easier. I think part of that has to do with, I learned on the driver's side, the bent nose, needle nose pliers, pulling on this little metal cover to get the bottom off. All the tops came off pretty easy. I want to spend a second talking about these dried out wires. It was the number 4 and the number 5, and I can take my finger and crumble the red part of the wire. I don't know if that's some kind of a silicone or what they're made out of, but in my opinion, if I'm going to put these new wires on, they're same as these, but in my opinion, for you guys and gals, I would not go with the original equipment wires. If this is if they're gonna get that brittle at 55,000 miles, then I don't think they're as good as some other wires that you can buy. One I've heard of that's supposed to be pretty good is Magnacore, and there may be another good one out there too. But I'm really, I'm telling you to do your homework as far as what wires to put back on there. But I recommend against these original equipment ones. I just don't like what I see when I took these off. They just fell apart. I pulled this off and I let this go, and the bottom just fell off just like that. I didn't even touch it. I didn't pull on it. I didn't do anything. The same thing with the number 5. Took the top off, let it go, bottom just separated like that. And there's a little tiny wire. Don't know if it'll, yeah, I guess it kind of shows up. I think that's all that was conducting electricity to fire the plugs. I'm not an expert on the internal construction of these wires. I know there's some suppression material in there for electronic interference. But there you go. Now I'm going to get the plugs out. So that's my personal opinion. Okay? See you later. Back to the plugs. Okay, I want to give you some tips on getting the plugs out. I gave you tips previously on getting the wires off. So for every single one of the plugs on the passenger side, which I got all 4 of them out in about 10 minutes, it was easy. I used the special socket with the rubber inside, and then I added to that this 3/4 socket, and that gave me the perfect distance to get a swing of the wrench on each one of them. And for the wrench, I actually used my little torque, my 3/8 drive torque wrench to loosen them off, because it's got a reversible ratchet, so I can get the angle of the drive just right to match it up to that socket, and then and because it's got a nice fine ratchet motion on it, I can move it just a couple of clicks, and bust them all loose. So the whole thing, including filming on the passenger side, was probably an hour and a half at the most, maybe an hour 15. So much easier, much easier than the driver's side. So my viewer, he had it wrong, but anyway, a lot of it has to do with the tools. You've got to have the right tools to get the right lengths this way to get out away from the engine block so you can move a wrench, and then you got to get the right, if you had like a little shorty wrench, you might not be able to put enough pressure on it to break them loose, so use a longer wrench. I didn't have to use a universal on either side, and I didn't have to use these two extensions either. Just this, pretty cool. So I'm going to take a lunch break, and then I'll come back and I'll put everything back in. It should be pretty easy. I want to give you a close-up of the plugs. They all look pretty good except for one, and that's the number 4. Let me number these on the piece of paper first. Okay, I'm over as much into the daylight as I can be, and I'm also going to shine a good flashlight on these. Whoops. There. I don't know why it's flashing like that. The camera is not liking when I bring the light over here. It makes a little strobe thing go on. Let me try from the other side. That's funny. Sorry for this interruption here, but flashing the light there, the light is not on a strobe setting, but it makes the camera, I guess, maybe the camera light is what's strobing. Let me see if I can get a light to come on while I'm filming. Well, I don't think the light is on. Anyway, sorry for that distraction. The number 4 is looks a little oily to me. All the rest are like that nice tan. Nice tan color. The gaps all look okay for 55,000 miles. I'm not going to measure them. But then you get to that number 4 there, and it looks oily to me. So here's the question: is what do you think's going on with the number 4 cylinder? Is the valve starting to get a little worn, or the valve guides or something like that? 55,000 miles on the motor, LS6 motor. So there, that's a question for my viewers. Thanks. If you have give me don't take a wild guess. I don't really want wild guesses. I want somebody who's pretty knowledgeable about reading plugs. Thanks. Plugs are going back in just fine. This is actually the last one. Let me show you what you need to do. I showed you on the driver's side, but some people might watch these two videos separately. So you want to put a drop of synthetic oil on the threads. I don't have much oil left in there, so I'm dipping in there 2 or 3 times. Yeah. Oops, sorry, it was out of frame. Pay attention, Froggy. Okay, so put a little synthetic oil on the threads, some silicone grease on the porcelain. I put it on the metal tip also. This is my little installer tool, which is an old boot. So slide that on there. Okay. Boy, I'm getting out of frame. Sorry, guys and gals. Slide that on there. Now, let me see if I can actually show you the number 2 going in. Give me a moment to get the plug down there. And of course, you're doing this without blind. You can't see what you're doing. So you've got to do it by feel. You feel around and look at the angles of all the plugs. Figure out what you need. I can feel it. It hit the hole, and now you can feel if you're twisting it and it's in the threads, it's nice and smooth. If you're twisting it and it feels rough, then you're not in the hole. So there. Now pull the tool off, and I might, well, I don't know if you can see it. Well, maybe right there. You can see the little tip. Where is it? I can see it, but I want the camera to see it. There. Okay, there's the little tip right there. The camera's way on one end of the phone, so right below to the left of that silvery cover on the exhaust is the tip sticking out there. So now I take my spark plug socket, and that goes on there. Give me a second, I've got to reposition. There. Okay, my spark plug socket is right there. You can just see it. Now I'm going to go over that with my 3/4 socket and my torque wrench. Just like that. And it just gives me the right amount of distance to be able to swing the wrench. Getting tight. There it is. 15 pounds. I'm going to take your special. Oh, I got to switch hands, sorry. A lot of switching hands to this job. Take that off. Make sure the little rubber's in there. Yeah, it's still in there. So there you go. All 4 plugs are in and torqued. Now we're going to do the wires. Now I'm going to put a little dab of silicone on the tips of all 4 plugs. And I'm also going to put silicone on the boots on both ends of these, so that'll take me a minute or so I'll be back. I'm not sure that last bit got recorded, so I'm just going to review this for you. The spark plug goes in this old boot just to help you screw it in. Oil on the threads, synthetic motor oil on the threads, silicone grease on the ceramic. So reach down and thread it in. Then you switch to your special spark plug socket. Slide that on there, and then slide the regular socket. It's a 3/4, and your wrench, which I'm using a torque wrench. I was able to torque all of them on this side. Oh, sorry, I had my fingers in the way there. Just a quick review of how to get them back in. The passenger side is pretty easy. I've got all 4 in, they're all torqued. I'm going to go on to lubricate the boots with silicone on all these new wires and then install them. Here we go. Don't forget to put those metal covers back on before you put the wires on. I like to do the plug end first and then the easy end, which is coil end. Gonna need 2 hands, but this is pretty obvious, so If I see one that's difficult, I'll show it to you. When you put it on, it feels like one click on the bottom here on the plug end, it feels like it snaps one time, and to me it feels like it snaps 2 times when I put the coil wire on. But just get a good angle on it. Use 2 hands if you can, or your strong side, your strong hand, and make sure you hear that little clip or click noise when it goes on. Okay? I just happened to notice that the metal insulators have a little bit of a coating inside, like a film, reddish colored film inside, and I thought I'd show it to you. I just found it interesting. Probably a layer of insulation, electrical insulation, I guess. I don't know. If you know, put it up in the comments. Guys and gals, that's it. I've got both sides done, all torqued, all lubed. I'll double check all the clicks on the settings. So it looks good. One thing I forgot, I already have my beauty covers off. There's 2 covers for each of the cylinder heads, and you guys have stock cars, probably still have those on there. So they just clip on. There's like little clips onto the fuel rail on each side, there, and then these little metal pieces here. So they just clip on and clip off. On the driver's side, you have to kind of wiggle it around the fuel line. But other than that, everything I showed you is what you need to do. Conclusions? Yeah. Don't wait till 100,000 miles to do plugs and wires. The plugs look fine. The wires were shot, and like I said, I would not put those original equipment wires back on there. Do your research and find something better. But I already had them, so I put them on. And but I definitely, if I still own the car after another, I would say 40,000 miles, I'll probably change them again. There you go. If you have, if this helps you out, give me a thumbs up or like, and click on it to subscribe if you want more from Froggy. And I enjoyed doing this for you guys and gals. Oh, by the way, I would say that took me 2.5 hours, including filming. So I would say not much more than 2 hours on this side. The other side probably took me 1 hour longer because I was just learning how to do it. So I gave you all my tricks. You own them now. So go ahead and do your own plugs and wires and save yourself some money. Okay? See you later. Bye-bye. Froggy out.